Since the 2016 US presidential elections, Donald Trump has been labelled as a fascist. Now, fascism is a tricky term to define, let alone attribute to someone. There have been several attempts to clearly define fascism by academics and fascists alike. My personal favourite, and perhaps most helpful, is the essay titled Fascism, written by the very philosophic-looking Umberto. The essay, among other things, lays out 14 different properties of a fascist society. Even though these elements may be more easily applied to society as a large, let us see how they fit with Donald Trump in our attempt to ask the question whether or not Donald Trump is a fascist.
1. The cult of tradition, characterized by cultural syncretism, even at the risk of internal contradiction.
Our first point can easily be argued and is exemplified in his slogan, "Make America Great Again," therefore implying America was once great and is no longer great, thus the cult of tradition.
2. The rejection of modernism, which views the rationalistic development of Western culture since the Enlightenment as a descent into depravity.
This point really can't be applied to Trump in my opinion. Not only does Trump claim to stand up for Western philosophy, but he's arguably the ultimate product of the Enlightenment, at least in some circles.
3. The cult of action for action's sake, which dictates that action is a value in itself, and should be taken without intellectual reflection. This connected with anti-intellectualism and irrationalism.
This point can easily be attributed to Trump, as well as his supporters. The claim of fake news comes to mind immediately.
4. Disagreement is treason.
This point is very similar to point number 3. Trump's rhetoric of the media being full of liars and fake news is an obvious example of this. His supporters are also quick to label those impeaching Trump as traitors.
5. Fear of difference, which fascism seeks to exploit and exacerbate.
Looking at these videos, need I say more?
And if people would have known about it, it could have been stopped in place. It could have been stopped right where it came from, China. If we would have known about it, if they would have known about it. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
6. Appeal to a frustrated middle class, fearing economic pressure from the demands and aspirations of lower social groups.
This point can actually be seen in Trump's inaugural address. Have a listen to the language used in this video.
Today, we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For many decades, we've enriched foreign industry at the expense of American industry, subsidized the armies of other countries while allowing for the very sad depletion of our military. We've defended other nations' borders while refusing to defend our own. And spent trillions and trillions of dollars overseas while America's infrastructure has fallen into disrepair and decay. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first. Every decision on trade, on taxes, on immigration, on foreign affairs will be made to benefit American workers and American families. So to all Americans in every city, near and far, small and large, from mountain to mountain, from ocean to ocean, hear these words: you will never be ignored again. Your voice, your hopes, and your dreams will define our American destiny. And your courage and goodness and love will forever guide us along the way. Together, we will make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you. God bless America.
Listening to this speech, we can see that Trump is attempting to appeal to the middle class. This is also very successful, as you can see from the stats, that he does have support within the middle classes.
7. Obsession with a plot and the hyping up of an enemy threat, often coming in an appeal to xenophobia.
Point number 7 is fairly similar to point number 5, with Trump's rhetoric against Mexicans and Muslims clearly showing an obsession with at least some kind of plot. One could also bring up his economic wars and trade wars with China in this point.
8. Fascist societies rhetorically cast their enemies as at the same time too strong and too weak.
I find this point difficult to associate to Trump. He definitely criticizes the leadership of America. However, he doesn't very often praise his enemies, although he has on occasion called people in China very smart and very capable. So it's not a great connection here in my opinion.
9. Pacifism is trafficking with the enemy because life is permanent warfare. There must always be an enemy to fight.
Trump is big on the military, so this is a definitely applicable point. He also uses quite combative language and often calls for arms.
10. Contempt for the weak.
This is very clearly applicable to Trump. Here's a video of him mocking a disabled reporter.
Written by a nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Oh, maybe that's what I said. This is 14 years ago. They didn't do a retraction.
He also used language such as Little Marco in the Republican primaries, clearly showing a contempt for what he perceives to be a weak person.
11. Everybody is educated to become a hero, which leads to the embrace of a cult of death. As Eco observes, the fascist hero is impatient to die. In his impatience, he more frequently sends other people to death.
This point isn't really applicable to Trump, but more so society at large, so don't think we can really use it in this argument.
12. Machismo, which sublimates the difficult work of permanent war and heroism into the sexual sphere. Fascists thus hold both disdain for women and intolerance and condemnation of non-standard sexual habits, from chastity to homosexuality.
According to some reports, Trump definitely prefers non-standard sexual practices, and definitely has a level of disdain for women.
13. Selective populism. The people, conceived monolithically, have a common will, distinct from and superior to the viewpoint of any individual.
This point can definitely be seen again in Trump's speeches and rhetoric. For more information on this piece, stay tuned for my dissertation on the alt-right, in which I further explore populism.
14. Newspeak. Fascism employs and promotes an impoverished vocabulary in order to limit critical reasoning.
With this point, fake news and covfefe comes to mind. But on a more serious note, it's hard to attribute to Trump. Fake news wasn't really coined by Trump, and he doesn't really have control of any publications of dictionaries. At least yet. We can see from the Youth Fascism essay that Donald Trump has met quite a few criteria for being a fascist. This, however, doesn't directly correlate with Donald Trump being a fascist, only that he embodies some of the ideals found within a fascist society. So, is Donald Trump a fascist? I'd answer no. Even though he definitely does meet some of the criteria for this list, one could argue that previous American presidents, or even presidents on the slightly left-wing spectrum, also meet these criteria. Ultimately, we all embody some of the characteristics found in a fascist society, as do our leaders. Yet we wouldn't call ourselves, nor many of our leaders, fascists. So, what is the Eurofascism essay for? Personally, for me, it acts as a warning signs of fascism. So if we see the 14 points being enacted by a certain leader, we may be slipping into fascism. I think that's the message to take away from this. Whilst Donald Trump probably isn't a fascist, there may be people like him who will use these points in order to gain power. So, as always, stay vigilant. Thank you for watching. Keep your leaders to account. And this has been the Unenlightened University. Thank you so much for watching. Signing off.